Okay, so here is part 2 of the sci-fi corridor tutorial, and I'm going to show you how to add some extra effects to this and just give it a more cinematic feel to it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. If you have not already, be sure to like and subscribe this video, and maybe leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of it once you've watched the whole thing, and be sure to watch the whole video as I'm going to give you several tips and tricks on using Blender throughout the video. Okay, so we're not going to touch anything with the hallway itself for right now, at least. So we're going to lock everything down so we don't mess with anything that we previously created. Be sure to, if you haven't already, be sure that you've gone through the first tutorial because you'll need all the assets for that for this for what we do here. We're not going to be rebuilding any of this, what you see right here. We're going to be adding some new stuff. So okay, so we're going to go ahead. We've got all of our lights here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lock collection right here. So that locks all of our assets here, so we don't, if we bump anything or whatever, we don't modify anything that we don't want to. And you know what, I think I'm actually just going to go ahead and turn all this off. So I'm going to go up to the eyeball here, click it, turn it off, and we're going to have our scene collection selected. We're going to do Shift A, go to mesh, do a UV sphere, and well, actually for right now let's just go ahead and go back to solid mode. Okay, we've got a little sphere here. Gonna scale it to, let's say, 4, make it big, and let's just go ahead and rotate it along the x-axis. Hit R to rotate, x-axis. Click right here on this X, make sure that it's, I need to rotate it a bit more. Okay, we're going to scale this thing up. We're going to hit S to scale, hit Y or Z axis. Actually, one thing I want to do real quick before we do anything else, I think I'm going to scale all these. We're going to scale all these faces except for a few. So I want to deselect these faces and deselect these faces here. And then we're going to scale the rest. So scale, S to scale, Z axis. Then we're going to select these faces right here, hit extrude outward. Actually, we're going to make these a little bit bigger, scale it up. Select these, hit extrude, bring it in a bit, and hit extrude outward, scale it, hit extrude outward, scale it a bit more. You know, while we're at it, let's go ahead and, so we're not having to do, so we make sure we keep this symmetrical. Gonna look down the Z-axis by clicking the Z up here up top. Hit Alt-Z, select all these faces right here. Make sure everything is selected. Got a few stragglers here. Around the other side. Looking good. Delete. Faces. Then we're going to go down to our modifiers panel. Add modifier. Generate. Mirror. Make sure clipping is on. Alt-Z, get out of X-ray mode. I'm going to select this face right here and hold Control and Shift and select this, so we select all these all together. Hit extrude, Y-axis. Hit 2 to go to edges mode. Hit G, Z-axis, bring this down a bit. Three, faces mode, bring this down, G, Z axis. Hit 2 to go to edges mode, select this edge right here, select this one, hit G, Y axis. Three, faces mode, select these faces right here and this right here, hit G, upward, scale it a bit. It's going to be kind of a goofy, scary looking robot. You guys don't have to follow this exactly. You can make whatever robot you want for this. Shift, actually, let's see. Going very basic for this. Let's go ahead. Let's go over to, actually, one thing I'm going to do real quickly before we do anything else. I'm going to hit Shift A, go to Light Area, G, bring this up. I'm going to go ahead and turn this light on. Bring it outward. I'm going to rotate it on the x-axis towards the head of this robot here. Bring this over a bit. Hit Shift D, G, x-axis. And these two lights, we're going to turn off the selectability on them. So now we're back to our little weird robot head. And something we're going to do really quickly, I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Hit, actually we're going to go to 3, go to faces mode, select these two top faces, and we're going to click on proportional editing. Click on that. Hit G, Z-axis, and roll your mouse wheel to where this is expanding so that we can kind of bring this down a bit. Do it some more. Select these faces here, still with proportional editing on. Going to do an edge loop, Control R. So it's kind of splitting all these faces here. A circular pattern. You're just going to select this edge right here, hit G, Z-axis. Actually, I'm sorry, let's turn off our proportional editing. Hit G, Z-axis. Hit 3, faces mode. Select these faces. And select these faces as well, holding Shift and Shift Control. We're going to do, let's go ahead and go to our transformation orientation, select normals, and make sure you have individual origins on your pivot points. We're going to do I to inset, hit I again, make sure we're doing individual insets. We're going to do E to extrude, S to scale. We're going to hit G, go along the Z-axis, bring these out a bit more. I think we're going to leave these alone up here. Going to select just the tips of these couple of teeth right here, as you can see what we're doing right now. G, Z-axis. As you can see with obtaining, sticking to the normals, these are all going along their own individual Z-axis based on their planes. Scale these down a bit more. All right, let's start giving this guy some more character. Let's go over to, let's see, we're already on render preview. Scroll down here to our little beach ball, the material properties. Going to add new. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to bring down the color a little bit. Give it kind of a bluish color. Oops, nope, leave that as is, okay. I'm going to bring up our metallics a bit. Then we're going to select faces mode. We're going to make sure 3 in faces mode. Select these faces right here, holding Control and Shift. Basically everything underneath the teeth. And then we're going to add another material. Go up here, click the plus sign, assign, add new, or click new. Then we're going to select this, and we're going to select it to yellow. Actually, I'm sorry, we're not going to do a BSDF. We're going to go to an emission. So we're going to set the color again, set it to yellow. We're going to turn the strength up to 5. Select all these, hitting Alt and selecting the line between. So we do a loop selection, hold Shift, select these, loop selection here. Okay, that's good. We're going to add yet another one, another material. plus, assign, click new, and go ahead and change this to an emission. Select color, bring it down to red. We're going to set the strength to 4. This doesn't have to be too detailed because it's going to be a very quick scene. If you saw previously, just going to kind of select some details back here. And eat extrude. Hit 2, go to lines mode. Select these edges, do a loop selection. Gonna hit Control B to bevel. And we're just gonna go ahead, we're gonna add another, actually let's see what, we need to add a material again. Click assign, then we add dark material. So it kind of splits that up a little bit more. Hit 3, go to faces mode. Hit extrude. Just kind of bring these out a little bit. Hit 2, faces mode, select these faces here. Hit Control B, bevel these a bit. Okay, so that'll probably be the most detailed part, or at least one of the most detailed parts of our little evil robot here. We're gonna hit Shift A, go to Mesh, UV Sphere, scale it up a bit, hit G, bring it back, G, back downward, Z-axis, scale it, rotate it along the X-axis. Okay, S to scale. We need to turn our normals back to global. We're going to scale this along the Y-axis. Scale Z-axis, bring this up. Go ahead and set the material for this to our metallic. Then lastly, we're going to add the claws. Shift A, Mesh, UV Sphere, hit G, Z, bring it downward, scale this up. Going to rotate it towards the camera. R to rotate, X axis. Let's make sure, yep, looks like it's rolling down a little bit. R, X. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and apply a mirror modifier to this. So go to your modifiers tab, add modifier, generate, mirror. Then hit tab to go to edit mode, Alt Z, go to X-ray mode, select these faces, hit G, X-axis. Alt Z, get out of edit mode, or I'm sorry, out of X-ray mode. Now we're just going to select, I think we'll select these faces. Actually, go faces mode, sure, make sure, hit 3, faces mode, select these faces here. Select, we're going to select these faces here, skipping every other set of faces here. We're going to hit, actually let's go ahead and go back and turn on normals up here. Hit extrude outward. And then scale these a bit. Make sure they're all scaling individually. Hit extrude outward a bit and hit G and then hit Y and hit Y again. And scale it. Actually, let's go ahead and turn it back to global. Hit extrude, Y-axis, scale it, and then we're going to just add some detail to the middle of the hands here. Select these faces here, of course. Extrude, outward, S to scale, hit extrude, scale it, hit extrude inward, and then let's go ahead and set our hands to the metallic as well. And then with these faces still selected, let's add a new one. Go to assign, and then we're going to go to our drop down and we're going to find our yellow emission shader. All right, so we got our creepy robot here. G, Y-axis, bring these arms back a bit. Okay, what we need to do is make sure this guy moves all together on one object where we can make it to where we can select them with just one object. So we're going to deselect everything, select the hands, select the little body here, and then we're going to select his head, and then we're going to hit Control P. We're going to set parent to object, and now we can select his head, and that'll move him all together as one object. But these are still separate objects. They're just all parented to his head. All right, so now with him created, we're going to go back to our collection, and we're going to turn it back on. Okay, hit G, bring him up. All right, looking pretty terrifying. I'm going to scale him down. Hit G. And then we're going to, let's turn on the wireframe mode. I'm going to hit G, Y-axis, bring him all the way down to the end of the hallway. So we hit our camera to look to our camera view here. All right, so if we turn on the render mode right now, we can see him at the end of the hallway. We don't want him to be visible at the beginning of the tutorial because we want to create that, element of surprise and everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to close this render window. And what we need to do is we need to create some animation first. We're going to start with the camera. And basically what I want to do is once the camera view gets to a certain point in the hallway is when we're going to have the big reveal and the jump scare of the robot and everything. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to kind of set where the camera is going to meet its unfortunate end at the hands of the crazy robot. So first thing I'm going to do is going to go to wireframe mode. Make sure our robot's selected. Select his head only. And we're going to bring him about, I don't know, a third of the way down the hallway. We're going to hit G, Y-axis. Looks pretty good. Then we're going to turn back to render preview. And let's make our collection selectable again. Okay, select our camera. Okay. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn all the other objects besides the camera to non-selectable. So I can't select anything other than the camera or the lights or the robot. So I'll tell you what, we're going to start off the view. Just going to kind of try to center it down the center of the looking down the corridor as if somebody were walking. And going to click view, and we're going to align view, align active camera to view. So perfect. Camera's looking down the hallway. And let's actually go over to our animation tab, and we need to turn back to render preview, of course. Snap this view to the camera. Just drag this over here for right now. Don't really need that right now. And now we've got our timeline, and I'm actually going to, I think I will leave it to 250 frames. So right here with the camera set right here, we're going to go ahead and hit I, and we're going to do location, and we're going to hit I again, and rotation. So we just keyframe for both the location and the rotation of the camera. So that compensates for if I pan it a little bit or turn it or anything like that, as well as moving it forward. So okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to drag the timeline up to, let's say, we're going to get up to like maybe 180 frames. And then making sure we still have our camera selected, going to hit view, navigation, block navigation. So we're going to move forward. Okay, let's see where we are in terms of relation on the hallway. Pretty far a ways in. We're probably about a third of the way down the hallway. Just going to see how that looks. Going to keyframe it. Hit I, location, I, rotation. Now let's go back to our render preview and click the camera here to snap back to our camera view. Okay, so view's going down the hallway. It's moving actually kind of fast. going to select these, move them up to 190 frames here. I'm going to turn it on, set it back to material preview mode. Okay. We're going to move these frames up to frame 210. So moving down the corridor. And frame 210 is where the viewer's like, wait, what's going on here? And I think we're going to go ahead and expand this. We're going to make the end frame, we're going to actually make the end frame 300, just to give us a little more room. And we're going to make the viewer stop at frame 220. Then we're going to go ahead and keyframe here, hit I, location, I rotation. As you can see, we didn't do anything. And then we're going to drag it to frame 300. And we're going to hit G, Y with the camera still selected. And we're going to go backwards. Hit I. Actually, I'm sorry. Hit I. Keyframe both the location and rotation. So as you can see, it's like, oh my god, running away. But the robot's going to get him before anything happens. I think we're going to go ahead and drag these up a bit more. I'm just trying to make this, I'm kind of tweaking this as we go, guys. Now we're going to move the robot. Go back to wireframe with the robot head still selected, as you can see right there. Hit G, Y-axis. And now the robot is on the other side. Go to render preview mode. Is on the other side of this white wall. So as you can see, we don't see it right now. We're going to hit, with the robot still selected, hit I, location, I, rotation. So both the rotation and location of the robot are keyframed. And then just going to see what happens. We're going to make sure we're on frame 300. See if we can see our camera. Go to frame 280. Preview mode. We're going to hit G, Y-axis. Now let's see, we got the robot right in front of the camera. Let's see how that looks. Hit G, Y-axis. We're going to bring the robot up. Bring him down a bit. I, location, and rotation. So basically what happens is viewers going, oh my god, something's coming. I'm going to go ahead and scoot, not those, it's like just these keyframes. Drag these up a bit. Bring it forward some more. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and delete these keyframes. Hit delete. And then G, Y-axis, bring the robot up. Okay, I to keyframe it. Location, rotation. So, okay. Let's go ahead and right click on these keyframes right here, and we're going to change the interpolation mode to linear. So we're going to speed up. Just going to hit G, bring it down a bit. I, location, I, rotation. Okay, so far, looking pretty good. Walking down the hallway. Something's going on. Run. know what, while we're at it, let's go ahead and select, select the body. We're going to do some stuff real quick. Let's see, the body selected, shade smooth. Okay, robots deselected. So let's see, if we do a frame capture from there, see how that looks. Looks kind of terrifying. Okay. All right, so we need to add some atmosphere here. So what happens is, so what's going to happen now is with the camera selected, let's see where all of our keyframes are. We're going to change the lights. So what we're going to do is, because one of the reasons I set the lights to where we can control them all with one light is so we can add some cool effects here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to frame 210, and with our light selected, our first light right here selected that all the other lights are connected to, we're going to go to our light bulb here, the object data properties, and we're going to keyframe the power. So keyframe that, and it's keyframed right here. Then about frame 220, we're going to set the lights or the power to 0. We're going to keyframe here. So as you can see, hallway's dark except for the light at the end of the tunnel. Now let's see how we're looking. Okay. So as you can see, our viewers walking down the hallway. Power goes out. Although our lights are still on, so we need to do something about that. So guess what? We can also keyframe our emissions in the ceiling. So we're going to make sure and turn our hallway back on where we can edit it. I believe that is, actually, I'm sorry, we need to go to our filter right here, click the arrow. Okay, turn the cube on. Select this. Okay, we got our hallway selected. And then, let's see, go down to our material properties. Find our emission right here. And what we're going to do is, let's see, the lights cut off right about here, right about frame 210. Actually, it's on 211. We're just going to drag this back one frame. And we're going to keyframe our color right here. And then, as the power goes out and cuts off at frame 220, we're going to click our color here, drag this slider all the way down. So we're just going to drag a little bit so you can still see a little bit of it. And then we're going to keyframe again. Okay, so power cuts off. And then here comes the monster. But we're not done yet. We're going to add something else here, add just a little bit more fire to this. So we've got our robot down here. It's actually looking a little scary down there. We're going to add another light. This one's not going to be connected to anything. We're going to Shift A, light, area, hit G, Y-axis, bring it all the way down to our robot. We're actually going to G, make sure it's kind of right underneath his head. We're going to rotate it along the Y-axis to where it's pointing directly up at him. Rotate, Y-axis, looks like it's pointing directly up at him. And this light, I'm going to hit G, Y-axis, bring it out, rotate it, X-axis. And then we're going to click the color, we're going to go to red. Okay, so it's rotated towards the robot. And we're going to turn our power up to 1,000. So we're going to do 2,000. We want this light to be bright. Hit G, Z-axis, hit G, Y-axis, bring it out a bit more. And then we're going to also parent the light to his head. So we're going to hit Control P, parent object. So whenever we drag our timeline or drag along the timeline here, yeah, the light moves along with it. Bring this down. As you can see, it's coming out there, coming out of the floor, the light and everything. I'm actually going to select the light. As you can see, we've got the light selected. Hit G, bring it downward a bit more. Make it brighter. We're actually going to make this 3000. Going to scale it a bit. Looks like it needs to be a little bit brighter. We're going to set this thing up to 5000. F12, see how our render is looking. Okay. We're going to add just another effect here. We're going to add, actually we're going to make another light. I'm going to hit Shift A, light, area, hit G, bring it up. We're going to place it directly behind the camera. G, Y-axis. We're going to rotate it to where it's pointing directly along the, or we're going to rotate along the X-axis so it's pointing directly towards the camera. But make sure it's right behind the camera. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I go into preview mode. Now you can see it a little bit better. G, Y-axis. Okay, color, set it down to red. Make this one super bright as well, 5000. There we go. And this time only, we're going to parent the light to the camera. Control P. However, we don't want this red light behind the camera the whole time. We basically want it to come on as soon as the robot appears, so it adds to the scare factor. So, okay, so robot's visible at frame 250. So we're gonna, let's see, we're gonna make sure and select our light. Okay, light selected. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit so you can see what we're doing here. Okay, light is selected. We're going to keyframe the power. We're gonna drag back just a few frames right before the robot becomes visible and the camera starts moving backwards. Set our power down to 0. And we're gonna keyframe again. So as you can see, terror. Actually, that's a little too bright. Yeah, that's really bright. I think we're going to have to tone it down a bit. Let's see. So we're going to go back to our frame where we keyframe the light. Let's kind of zoom in a bit. Actually, we're going to bring this over here. And we're going to have it brighten up to 3000. That's still too bright. Actually, I think what we need to do is we need to bring the camera back a bit. G, Y-axis. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring this back a bit so you can see what we're doing here. Okay, G, Y-axis. Bring it back a bit. All right. So you can see the robot's coming after you. Pretty scary looking. Hopefully you guys are getting some out of this. I know I'm kind of doing this on the fly and everything, but hopefully you guys are kind of getting an idea of my process here. And then frame 300 is kind of where it stops, F12. And the last thing our unfortunate camera person sees are the teeth of this scary robot coming at them. So if we just go to the beginning of our render preview mode, scale, let's say, bring this over so we can get to frame 1. Let's deselect our cube so we're not making any our modifications to our hallway. Okay, so moving forward, see how we're looking. Whoa, power's off. Okay, well, after that, all we need is do a little post in Premiere or After Effects and everything is how I'm going to kind of finish this off and what will be what you'll see in the final animation here. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, be sure to hit like and subscribe, maybe leave a comment, let me know what maybe I could have done better here. Otherwise, again, hope you enjoyed it, and have a great one.